Hey, welcome back to Cody Builds. On today's episode, we're going to be getting to work on the firewall and these kick panels down here. I need to get those pieces patched and replaced before I can do my final floor pan installation. So we're going to get to work on that today. The first thing I have to do is undo the patches that the original owner of this truck did way back probably in the late 70s to mid 80s. There's a bunch of tin and thin sheet metal that was patched over the original panels way back in the day. Those got to come out so I can see exactly what we're working with and exactly what needs to be patched. I'm going to get to work removing those now. All right, you can already see by kind of scraping off this original paint that's in there, I'm revealing all the little tiny spot welds that were made to hold this patch in place. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep drilling these out and get these patches out of here. I'm trying not to go too crazy because I want to keep as much of the original firewall as I can. I know there's a lot of rust and rot in it that's gonna have to be cut out, but I don't want to go overboard and end up having to try and replace the whole entire firewall. So we're just kind of working our way through this one little spot weld at a time. We'll get it all drilled out, get it all removed. All right, you can see we got most of this old patch out here. This old patch was kind of sitting in right here. It was a bunch of layers of tin layered over the top of one another. Not a great repair. Here's a little piece of it left here. But we got all of that out of there. Everything we need to get out for the moment. This is eventually going to get cut out for the floor pan, so I'm not worried about that. What I am worried about is reconstructing the kick panel down here and the corner where the floorboard's going to tie into. Now, I don't have one good side. You know, both the passenger side and the driver's side are really rusted out. So if I had, you know, one side that was good and one was bad, I could have used that as a template and understood better how these came from the factory. I don't have that. And what I was most worried about is a flange, something here to hold the floorboard, because the patch panels do not have anything to hold them up here in the corner. They're just a flat piece of sheet metal. And my assumption was, like there's a flange down here, that there would have to be something for the floorboard to ride on down along here. And I was going to assume that that is part of this kick panel that is missing now. This kick panel is already rotted out pretty badly, and there's a bunch of Bondo right through here. I can feel it. They layered in some sheet metal, Bondoed over the top of it, and then repainted it and used some like texturizer on it. So this panel's all pretty bad. Well, I think what I need to do next is I'm gonna use a surface conditioner and try and strip this back as far to bare metal as I can to see exactly what we're working with. And then I'll figure out how I'm gonna put a flange in this and patch kind of the extension of the kick panel up towards the front. And then we'll have to start looking at the firewall, because what I think I'm going to have to do is patch this top edge of the firewall first before I put my floor pans and then eventually the body mount in. I kind of really need to get everything stripped back, figure out exactly what I'm working with, and then figure out exactly how we're going to patch this all in. All right, fellas, I got everything kind of cleaned up here, and I think I finally have enough pieces of the puzzle to figure out exactly what I need to do to reconstruct this whole corner of the cab. This is the inside of that kick panel that comes across, and you can see it's rotted out here. This is actually pretty good metal back up in here, so I don't need to cut this all the way out. what I'm probably going to do is I'll carry my kick panel from the inside here all the way across. I am going to take out this section here. We're going to come up here, take this section here. We're going to drill out this flange where this piece of kick panel comes together. And what I can see now is there's 3 layers here. So there's what was the original floor pan. There's the inside kick panel, and then there's this cowl panel here. I'm going to drill this out to remove the original floor pan, because what I can see now from this side is that the floor is what was flanged and not the kick panel itself. So the floor comes across, had a downward flange, and then it was just spot welded to this pinch weld right here. The replacement floor pans do not have this flange. I'll have to come up with something myself, but that'll be really relatively easy, because what we'll do is we'll fit the whole floor pan, get it nice and tight over here, and then I'll just make a template for a flange that'll run down here. We'll weld that onto the new floor pan, and then we'll put this all back together and redo this pinch weld. Up here on the firewall, I got to cleaning this off, and you can see this is all pretty corroded, pretty oxidized metal, almost all the way up to about this point here. So what I'm going to have to do is cut this section out, and then I'm going to carry that up. You can see this pinch weld down through here is really bad. So I'm going to remove this side of this pinch weld, or this side of the firewall. I'll probably take a section about like that. We'll make a flange. We'll pull all this apart. We'll clean all this up. We'll fix up the cowl side as well, where it's rotted out right here. And then we will reassemble this with all the pinch welds right down through there. We'll make that look nice and tidy. This section of the firewall has a flange that comes together where the floor, the body mount, and the firewall all meet. It's flanged like this. So we'll remake that on this panel as well. We'll bend in a flange here. And then I'm obviously going to have to come over here and fix the support, the stiffening support for the brake cylinder and the steering column. It's all rotted away from about this level down. I think the order in which I'm going to do this is I'm going to do the kick panel first, then I'm going to do the firewall panel here, and then lastly I'll do the new floor pan and then the body mount. That's kind of the order that I'm going to attack this. We'll see how it goes here. I've got a lot of cutting out to do and cutting and drilling out to do, so that's what I'm going to do next. Okay, I got the kick panel kind of cut up and welded into place here, or not welded in, just cut up and fit into place. You guys will look at that. It's fit up pretty nicely at the moment. I still need to make a small adjustment over here where it meets the door rail edge. I'm gonna fold over this corner just a little bit to kind of match this angle up here. But that's all I really need to do to get that adjusted out. There is a little detail here, but I don't have a bead roller. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to match that too well, so we may just kind of blend that in down towards the bottom of the door. That's not really that big of a deal to me. So I think I'm going to make my kind of final adjustments here, and then we'll start getting this tacked into place. Once I got that tacked into place, I can start looking at the firewall, and we can figure out what we're going to do up there. You notice someone walking around there. I've got my brother-in-law Phil here. He's come back for Thanksgiving. He's going to give me a hand. He's going to start actually taking apart the dash for me. So that's going to be a nice little bit of help here to keep the project moving along and to keep things going. So I'm going to make my adjustments on this panel and we'll get this thing tacked in. All right, I've got all the adjustments made on my little panel here. It fits really nicely in here. Sorry, you're gonna have to deal with the drone of the heater. It's really cold today. Okay, we got that fit in there really nice like that. Yeah, it's looking really good, guys. I'm really happy with that. I'm gonna break out the welder and we're gonna get this thing tacked into place. All right, guys, it's a new night. Phil had to take off the other day. We got a little bit of the dash taken apart. We had some issues there. Also, it was extremely difficult to film, not because Phil, because we're back into cold weather season here in Illinois. It's been below freezing the last couple times I've been out in the garage, so I've got to run the propane heater. It's loud. You guys don't want to hear that all the time. But I want to bring you up to speed on where we left off the other day. So let's get in here and take a look. So this is our new replacement patch here. That turned out pretty nice. I did make a filler piece for our lower door corner here, and I got that welded in. I have not ground on anything yet, guys. So I'm going to have a lot of grinding and cleanup work to do when I come back. For now, that's kind of cleaned up. I cleaned up this corner a little bit. I still got a little bit of a rust spot here I need to take care of. From the inside, the kick panel, this is what it looks like. I think this turned out pretty decent. Again, I'm gonna have to come in here and clean all this up, obviously. I went ahead and I folded the bottom of the kick panel over here so it carries down this flange down the edge here. I got a little bit of cleanup and some welding to do on that yet, but we've got the kick panel in place where it needs to be, and now we're ready to start getting the floor pans installed once we get the firewall fixed up. So I spent a few minutes out here looking at the firewall, trying to decide what I'm gonna do. I cleaned up on the firewall here a little bit. I got the surface conditioner on this, and there's a lot of, it seems like what they did in a lot of areas where there was rust starting to come through is they sprayed it with like this rubberized coating stuff. I'm not a big fan of that stuff. It flakes, water gets behind it, and the metal rusts out. I went at trying to get some of that off to see how far back we needed to cut this metal. We've got good clean metal at about this level, and it actually carries all the way up the edge here. We've got a little bit of rust forming around these holes. I'm not too concerned about that. We'll clean that up as best we can. We'll probably use like a high fill primer on this to smooth it out. We'll do a little bit of body work if we have to, put a little Bondo over that. It'll be fine. It's a firewall. The bigger issue is up here in the flange. You can see how much rust has taken over in this pinch weld here. So we need to drill out this pinch weld. I'm actually gonna replace the flange of the firewall for this pinch weld all the way down to here. I'm gonna leave the top half of this firewall where it's at. And then we're gonna cut straight across here all the way through this brace, because this brace is mangled and rotted away down on the bottom side here. So we're going to cut straight across through here, through the brace for the steering column and the brake booster and master cylinder. We'll cut down on the other side. I'm going to leave this part of the flange in here. We'll cut along here, and then we're going to replace this section of the firewall here with a new flange down here. Once I have that in place, then we're going to be ready to get the floors in. So that's my goal to finish off this episode. I need to start drilling out the pinch weld here. We're going to get that drilled out all the way up to this corner. And then we're going to mark everything out, get it cut out, and start making up our panels. So let's get after it. All right, we're making really good progress here. You can see now I've got the old rotten firewall cut out. And you can see I left this flange down here that I'm going to weld back to down here. We're going to have to recreate the flange for the firewall all the way across here. I've gotten in here and I've cleaned up a lot of this. I have a little bit of welding touch up to do, a little more grinding. I want to get a lot of this grinding and sanding done in here before we put the floors back in. It's just going to be easier to get to it now with everything out of the way. But as with all things in this project, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You can see up here that this internal panel has rusted back. The flange on the outer panel here is rusted. So I'm going to have to actually cut a piece in, double it up. 1 piece for the inside, one piece for the outside, and re-weld in this tab here on this pinch weld. So I did also go ahead and start trying to straighten out the pinch weld. I don't know if you noticed before, but this pinch weld was super wavy, kind of all over the place because it had rusted and expanded and gotten pretty ugly in there. I went ahead, straightened all that out, got all that cleaned up. It's looking much, much better, but I do need to fix this now before I can come in here. I still need to trim a little bit more of the firewall out here to create this flange for the firewall. So we're getting close. A lot has to come together still, but you can see we're making progress. I mean, even just as is the case with every step of the way, when you cut the old rot out, it automatically just starts looking better, even though there's nothing here. It kind of motivates me to get things put back in because looking at the rust can be very demotivating. I gotta be honest, after filming the last international video, I've been pretty burned out on sheet metal here, and I went and had a ton of fun filming that video, and boy, I'm having a hard time getting motivated to get back to all this rust repair in this cab. But this is such a crucial piece. We get the firewall done. The next episode, you're gonna see the driver's side floorboard go in, and then we can move over and do the passenger side. We've got all of our pieces cut up to patch in the firewall. The only thing I haven't cut up yet is the braces for the brake booster and steering column that are going to go over the top of this panel. But I've got two new tools that I want to show you guys that I think are going to make life a lot easier here. I haven't used them on the project yet, but I do want to show them both to you guys. These are both Chief tools from Harbor Freight. These are air tools. This one here is a nibbler, and we're going to use it to cut out this section, this curved section that could be done with a cutoff wheel, but it'd be a little bit difficult. So we're gonna try this nibbler out, see how that works. And then this one, I'm wishing I'd have bought a while ago. This is a combination tool. It's got a flanger on one side, but more importantly, it's a spot weld punch on the other. I've got two pieces here. This one, I need to use the nibbler to cut this out on. This is gonna be my flange that joins up along the side over here. And so this is going to be spot welded up this flange, and that's going to go along the pinch weld on the front of the firewall. So we're going to use this punch to punch out all of our spot welds. First, let me just demonstrate briefly the flanger. You keep your fingers away from the ends here once you got the airline hooked up. But on the top side here is a dive for a flange, and then the bottom side is the punch. I'm going to show you the flange die real quick, and this is super simple. Stick the piece of metal all the way into the back side of the die, squeeze the trigger, release, move it down, do the same thing, and I'm going to do that all the way down this piece. We'll do it one more time just to give good definition in here. Actually, I didn't get all the way down to the end. Make a second pass here just to give it a little bit more definition. Now, if you don't want to do butt welds on everything, this little tool makes a nice little flange for you, just like that. It's that simple. Now you can take a second piece. Obviously, we need to clean the edges up on this if we were going to do that, but take your second piece, you cut the spot welds in this, you lay them over the top of each other, and you weld those together. Now you got this nice flanged piece of metal that you can guide that on. We're doing everything as a butt weld. One, because I don't really like the overlap sections. It does give a place to trap moisture and potentially rust out quicker. So, you know, that side for this project, not super necessary, but it is a nice, cool little feature. Now, the other side is our spot weld punch, and it's very similar in that we're gonna drop this piece all the way down in. So I'm just gonna do this down this flange that I just cut. Squeeze the trigger, it's that simple. Now, that would have taken me to drill those 5 holes out a significantly longer period of time to drill those all out. So this is something I wish I would have bought sooner. Fairly cheap. I think it's less than $100 at Harbor Freight. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna punch the holes in this piece here first, and we'll do that right now. So I'm just gonna work my way up this panel. All right, now essentially that, once we get this welded in, I'll be able to weld that pinch weld in right there. So nice and quick. Super simple, super straightforward. Second tool, the air nibbler. This is gonna help us cut out curves in sheet metal. All this is there's a little blade in here that oscillates up and down and just takes out, I don't know if you can see these in the camera, but all these little chunks I practiced on a piece right before this. It just takes little bites out of the metal, little bites at a time. This is good for 18 gauge and smaller. Nothing over 18 gauge in this. So let's see how this works. I'm gonna actually stand up for this portion so I have a little control over the tool here. So the piece of metal just slots right in that gap there. You pull the trigger and this thing goes. Okay, early return on the nibbler. Maybe I'm just an amateur with it, but that was not the move. I don't know, it seemed to like it at multiple points didn't want to actually cut the metal, and then all of a sudden it would take off on you. So maybe I just need a little more practice with it. So I'm not gonna say must have yet. I wanna work with it a little bit more, figure out maybe I'm doing something wrong, maybe I need to make an adjustment on it. I'm running 90 PSI to it. Maybe that's too fast and I need to slow it down a little bit so it actually bites the metal. Maybe I'm not giving it a chance to actually bite the metal. I also was having difficulty, being the first time I'm using it, figuring out where the line is. So with more time with this tool, I could have gotten closer to the line, I think. It did the job, but now I need to go back with the die grinder and do a significant amount of reduction. Because now that I've actually cut away, you're not gonna come in with this and do a little side trim. It's pretty much dead square on or nothing with this tool. So, you know, I'm not gonna knock it just yet. I'm gonna chalk it up to inexperience on that one so far. But I do think this guy, the flanger and the spot weld punch, that's a no-brainer. Super easy to use, very intuitive right out of the box, and is gonna be a big time saver. So A+ on that one, TBD on this one. I'm gonna go ahead and get this trimmed up so we can start getting things tacked into the firewall. So I've got this cut into a couple pieces to try and fit it back together. When I started digging into the edge of the firewall here, there was some stuff I wasn't real thrilled about, so I kind of cut that back and I made myself a new flange here. This is gonna go up into the top here, up into the corner, like so, and then that's gonna get tacked to our pinch weld here, like this. So I've got to get this welded into place here, and then once I've got that fit in, I'll come back with this piece, and we're gonna get this piece fit in for the balance of the firewall here. So I'll go ahead and get this flange tacked in first, and then we'll get this piece fit in after that. And then that should do it for the firewall and the kick panel repairs. So let me get this welded up, and we'll wrap this here episode up. I need to come back in and grind all this stuff up smooth. I'm gonna have so much grinding to do later down the road. I've pretty much been leaving it all for a later date because it doesn't make that for that interesting of a video, and I'm kind of dreading all of the grinding and sanding I'm gonna have to do. But you get the idea. I mean, look how much better this looks. It's insanely stronger in the Firewall already, and we don't even have this half of it connected yet. So I'll go ahead and get this tacked in on the back side. We'll finish this up for the night. I think this turned out really nice. I got a little bit of weld to clean up in here, but I can't quite do that. Probably won't be able to do that until the cab is back on the chassis. So obviously you still have to come in and clean all this up. I still need to recreate the brace for the steering column, but we're at a point now where I can actually start working on the floorboards. I got to do a little bit of a patch there. I came up a measure just a hair short on that, but that's no big deal there. But look at this, it looks fantastic. Much better. Obviously, we've got a lot of metal work to do, clean up, grinding, smoothing, all that stuff. Look how much better our pinch weld looks. It's nice and tight now instead of being all blown apart with the rust in it. So I think it turned out really nice. We're making really good progress here, guys. It is a little bit slow going, I'm not gonna lie. All this rust repair is really taking a toll on me mentally a little bit. I'm not gonna lie about that. I'm enjoying it. I don't mind doing the work. I just wish I could give you guys like more content in every video. Since I'm only out here, you know, 1, maybe 2 nights a week, you kind of got to get what you get, and that's what the content I'm giving you guys is right now. Eventually, someday, when we're not doing a project this extensive, I'm hoping to bounce through the projects a little bit quicker. You know, maybe put a vehicle on here for a month or so and then roll on to the next one. So that's the long-term goal. But for now, things are looking really good. I mean, that is way better than this. And this is what's up in about 2 weeks. So I'm gonna be out here again in about 2 more days on a Saturday. And I'm actually going to start putting in this passenger or the driver's side floorboard. Because once we get the floorboards in, theoretically, we can get this thing back on the chassis, and that's what I'm shooting for. Said it a couple times, but motivation-wise, that would just be a huge boost for me for this project. And we're making our way through it, but officially, you know, videos-wise, I'm not quite to a year, but I stripped this cab down. I stripped the truck down the Friday, Saturday, Sunday after Thanksgiving last year. So I have officially just passed 1 year on this truck. We're making incredible progress. I'm not gonna knock what we've gotten done. It just feels like it's slowed down pretty significantly here over the last couple of months, and all that has to do with just how bad the rust damage was in this cab. So, but we're getting there. We're getting there. We're chipping away, chipping away, chipping away. And that's what, you know, I keep preaching. Hopefully I'm not preaching about it too much, but that is with any project, guys, no matter how big of a project you take, whether you do something like this and you take the truck all the way down to the bare frame and build it back, or, you know, you're just tinkering every week. You got a running driving project and you're just, you know, checking the boxes every week. This is what it's all about. Getting out in the garage, working on your projects and finishing them. So we're not going to stall out. We're not going to quit on this truck until we're driving it. And I cannot wait to drive it. But with that said, that's going to do it for tonight's episode. So as always, guys, if you don't work on your projects, they will not work on themselves. Get out in the garage, get building, and I'll see you on the next episode of Cody Builds.